One of the biggest differentiators between keen amateur saxophonists and pros is phrasing. And one of the most important aspects of phrasing is ghosting notes. So in today's free online saxophone lesson, we're going to talk about ghosting. We're going to cover the basics. I'm going to show you what it is, how you do it, when you do it, and how you practice it. And then hopefully that'll transform the way that you phrase all the music you play. Sound good? Right, let's get straight into it. So what is ghost notes? Ghost notes is just when one of the notes is quieter than the other notes in a line. And quite often, the tone of the note is different as well. It's not just quieter, it's a little bit more muffled and subdued. And it makes your lines sound in 3D, you might say. It brings light and shade to the way that you play your lines. So that's what ghost notes are. And you've heard them all the time when you hear people play jazz, funk, all kinds of different genres of music, you will hear ghost notes. So, how do you play a ghost note? Well, the most elementary way, my dear Watson, of playing a ghosted note is to just play that note quieter. So say you're going D to C to D, D, D. You can just play the C quieter and you slur from the D to the C and then tongue the D. So you can hear that the C, the middle note of that three-note group, was quieter. And that's one way of ghosting notes. However, the way that most, if not all, pro saxophonists ghost notes is by using half-tonguing. Now, I've also got a much more comprehensive video on half-tonguing, which I'll link in the description. And all this stuff is covered in exhaustive detail from start to finish in my Phrase Like a Pro course. That's the real Bible for your phrasing. But in a little nutshell, half-tonguing is when you subdue the vibration of the reed to make the note sound quieter, but not enough to stop the note sounding altogether. And there's two main ways of doing it. One way is to completely close one corner of the reed against the mouthpiece. You just literally put your tongue angled across your mouth, and you will prefer one side. It'll be obvious straight away which side you prefer. And you can close off the corner of the reed against the corner of the mouthpiece. That'll leave only one half of the reed vibrating and you'll get that muffled, subdued sound. The other way of doing it is to rest your whole tongue lightly on the surface of the reed, but not enough to stop the reed vibrating. It's like dampening it, like putting a blanket on the reed. This is a more subtle technique, and I would say, I don't know, maybe it's half and half, which people do which technique. You just find the one that works best for you, basically. So here is the technique where you close off one corner of the reed. And you can hear the subdued ghosted note. For many people, that's the easiest way to get started because you don't have to get into the murky world of how much pressure you use with your tongue on the reed. Too much pressure will stop the reed altogether. Too little and it won't really work. So here's the tongue muffle mode, tongue muffle mode, whatever that means. And you can tell that in reality, there's not much difference between them. So that's the two main ways of using half-tonguing. And if you don't want to mess around with half-tonguing, you just have to try and use a bit less breath pressure to make that ghosted note quieter. Hope you're enjoying today's video. Real quick, did you know that 61% of you who are watching this video are not subscribed to my channel? Now, I make hundreds of videos to help the saxophone community, so if you want to do something nice for me, please just hit subscribe right now. Go on, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe right now. Do it. That's one easy thing that you can do to really help me out and help me take this message to more and more sax players and make the world a better place. Okay, back with the video. That is how you perform ghosted notes. Now, next big question, of course, when do you perform ghosted notes? Let's start with this basic rule, which is you would half tongue a note which is ascending and from an offbeat to a downbeat. So if you're going from an offbeat to a downbeat and the line is going up, you would half tongue the note on the offbeat. So there's quite a well-known exercise to practice this. And all you do is you do an ascending scale and you tongue the notes on the beat and you half tongue the notes off the beat. Now I'm going to do this exercise just ascending to begin with, and then I'll tell you something important about half tonguing which I haven't mentioned yet. Now the important thing I haven't mentioned yet about half tonguing is this. Because your tongue is already on the reed for the duration of the note, when you pull your tongue off, and you want to pull your tongue off rapidly, that is the same as a de facto articulated note. So the note after a half-tongued note, when you pull your tongue away from the reed, is the equivalent of tonguing that note. Even though you're not striking the reed, your tongue's already on the reed, and when you pull it away, it has the effect of the next note popping out. So that's why when you go doodle, 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 the notes on the downbeat stand out, because you're really you're making them pop by pulling your tongue away. So now that you know that, I'll play that exercise again. I'm just doing an ascending G major scale. I'm going to tongue the very first note, then half tongue the off beats, and when I pull my tongue away on the downbeat, simultaneously with moving my fingers to the next note, you will hear those notes pop out more. So it sounds like those notes are articulated, the downbeats. Why? Because they are. They are articulated. So that's a good little drill to start with. Now there's other stuff about jazz phrasing, a lot more about jazz phrasing, including on the way down, you kind of slur from offbeats to downbeats, which is more the traditional, thing that you're taught about jazz phrasing. But today we're talking about ghosting. Right. So when else do you ghost notes? Okay. The other time you ghost notes is if you're doing a rapid upward arpeggio and then you finish on the beat on a high note. So let's say I was doing a typical jazz line. I'm going to go up an A minor 7 arpeggio. I'm going to go G sharp, then the A minor 7 arpeggio, and I'm going to hit B at the top. Ba-dee-ba-dee-ba, a 1, 2, 3, ba-da-ba-doo-da, 1, 2. That sounds very different from so, excuse me, if you have a series of upward notes and they hit a peak at the top, you can half tongue all those notes in a row, which is something we haven't mentioned yet. You can half tongue multiple notes in a row just by keeping your tongue on the reed and then fingering the notes. They're all going to sound muffled. Sometimes this is called doodle tonguing, muffle tonguing. There's lots of different ways of describing the same thing. So that, just looking at my notes here, that is when you play ghost notes. Now, how do you practice it? Well, for this, you'll have to delve into my Phrase Like a Pro course, because I'm trying to make a few just sort of quicker, more informal one-take videos at the moment. Why am I doing that? Because I'm working hard on this event which is coming up. What event is coming up? In case you haven't heard about it, it's called the Saxophone Success Formula Live. Reimagine your sax together. It's the first weekend in 2025, January 3rd to January the 5th. Apologies if you're watching this after the event. If you're watching it now, there are still some tickets available. We've got about 80% of the tickets are already gone and they're still selling. So you've still got a chance to get in there to book your spot. It's going to be an incredible event. Part of it is going to be, there's going to be a session on phrasing, much better than this, believe me. So if you want to hang out with like-minded saxophonists, have an incredible experience and set yourself up for your best ever 2025 saxophone wise. It's going to be like the best parts of all my courses rolled into one. It's going to be an incredible event. I really hope to see you there. Just use the link in the description and book your place. Okay, so here are a few little clippy clips from Phrase Like a Pro, illustrating some of the exercises, starting very simple to much more complicated, that you can use to practice ghosting notes, to practice your half-tonguing. Or if you're not half-tonguing, to practice the technique of at least kind of playing them quieter. So check out these examples and remember that the last ones are quite complicated, and remember it's all in Phrase Like a Pro. Here we go. So that is some very structured drills to help you practice ghosting notes. Now, as the drills get more complicated, you'll realize that I've put them in a much more natural environment for how you would actually do them in real life, which brings me on to my final point, that if you want to really be able to practice ghosting notes in their home environment, there's only one way to do it, and that is to transcribe solos. But now that you've heard what half-tonguing sounds like, when you go to your Hank Mobley solo, your Paul Desmond, your whoever it is you're transcribing, even if it's Maceo Parker, Candy Dulfer, all these funk players are still doing the same thing. Now you know what it sounds like. And knowledge is power, my friend. Once you know what ghosting and half-tonguing sounds like, you'll be able to identify it. And once you can identify it, you'll be able to recreate it. So, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want a really great free resource, go and check out my free Saxophone Success Masterclass. It's a bit of a legendary, coaching that is now. It's been out there for a few years. Just use the link in the description. You are going to instantly transform how good you sound on saxophone, no matter what standard you are. There's a bunch of really cool stuff. Super cool. As I mentioned before, there's still time to get your ticket for the Saxophone Success Formula Live. If you've already got your ticket, woohoo, whoop, 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 whoop. Can't wait to see you there. As always, just before I go, remember that inside the Inner Circle membership, you will get a bunch of super cool content, bonus video every week, and lots more besides, including detailed breakdowns of famous solos and exactly how they're tongued and phrased, including ghost tonguing. It's all in there. The Inner Circle is a thriving, awesome community of keen saxophonists looking to improve. It's all in there. Use the link that you can see there. There's a free 7-day trial, so you got nothing to lose. Hopefully see you inside the Inner Circle. And until next week, oh my God, get my breath. Talking so fast. Until next week, practice hard, practice smart, and enjoy your music. Take it easy, guys.